Perfect.
Thanks,
So we're
thanks,
finally.
thanks for accepting my invitation and allowing me to talk with you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah. So I thought to introduce you to my audience and tell about you to my audience.
Okay. So my name is Amanda Edwin. I am a teacher. I'm also a paralegal here in Canada. My background is I'm Trinidad. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago, the island, the Caribbean island of Trinidad and Tobago, and I moved to Canada about 12 years ago.
Okay.
Um, Taught for over 30 years, and I've been a paralegal now for about 8 to 10 years. But I do a lot. I still teach. I teach adults every day, and I guess you found me on my Instagram account where I do teacher empowerment. Right.
Okay.
So that's me in a nutshell.
So in which state you will stay in Canada?
Um, I'm in the province of Ontario.
Ontario. Okay.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
more central Canada.
Okay. So you're a teacher and you teach teachers about teaching.
Uh, yes, what I try to do through my Instagram account, because this is I've been doing it all the time, but now I'm trying to formalize it where I can reach out to teachers, like younger ones who are now coming into the profession, to give them a sense of empowerment and to kind of guide them through the process, because it's not an easy job. Um, I think people take teachers for granted a lot. The work is not easy when you have children coming in from various backgrounds, various discipline issues, learning disabilities, things like that. So a young teacher coming into the system, you don't really have the experience to deal with that. Okay. So I remember saying, I did a video recently, and because I started a group on Facebook called the Teachers Lounge, and I did a video for the group telling them that teachers are not. When I started teaching, okay, I'm going to go back. I started teaching at the age of 17. Okay. I won't tell you how old I am right now, but just know I've been teaching for a long time. Or you can do the math. I started teaching over 30 years. You can do the math. And I was just thrown into it. You know what I mean? I had zero experience. I was out of high school and literally thrown into the classroom with a mentor. And I think that helped me having a mentor. I had a mentor for about 3 years. That helped. That is not always the case with new teachers coming in. And so that's what I am trying to do now, is be almost like a mentor to the new teachers or even those who are already in the practice but need that little boost of encouragement. So giving them the strategies and the tips to help them along the way. And one of the things I firmly believe in is the home school connection. So I believe that when you build connections and relationships with the parents and with the students, you have greater interaction, greater participation, and by extension, the ultimate would be greater student success. So that's really where, in a nutshell, what I'm trying to do. I'm just beginning with it, kind of, and hopefully I'm going to get to the point where I can do more talks with teachers, do more professional development, things like that. So right now I'm reaching them through my Facebook page, through my Instagram, and to my website. So that's what I'm doing.
So why all the students in the class will not get the same marks? Because only one teacher is teaching them. But why a different student get different marks? Why not same if the teacher is good?
Um, I'm going to try and repeat what you just said. So you're asking me, why is the children, okay, you have 2 children, 3 children in the same class. some will get a lower mark and some will get a better mark having the same teacher? Is that
Yeah,
what you're asking? Was
you know,
more strict?
in a class, how many students will be there approximately?
Um, Here we have about 28 students to a class, which is a lot. Um, in my own experience, I've had about the largest class I've had was 33, and that's in the Caribbean. Okay. And that was a lot of children. It's hard for the teacher. It's very difficult to be able to reach all 33 or all 28 or even in a class of 10. It's easier in a class of 10 or 15, more manageable. But you have different factors involved. So children, there are some who would be naturally able to take in information and learn it very quickly. You have children who will not do so, and they need the extra attention. One of the things in terms of my philosophy of education is that all children can learn. We just need to find their learning style. And the way the things are now is hard for teachers to do that in the classroom because of the number of children that there are. So one child might be really good at drawing or art, and they can learn best through art. Another one might be really good at, let's just say, listening, and they can take things in very quickly. For example, me, I'm a visual learner. Okay, so I have to see things in writing for me to be able to learn it better. All right. So when we are able to identify the learning styles of all the children in our class, then we can teach effectively. So we can reach all of them. Okay. And I'll give you an example. I had a girl, she was really good at art, drawing, and she was really good at math, but she was really terrible at language. Okay. Her writing skills were not very good. But one day I gave them a math problem to solve. And she did it completely differently, but it was correct. Okay, so I always give them a chance to tell me, well, how did you arrive at your answer if it wasn't a way that I showed them? And she went up onto the chalkboard and she did it in her own creative mind. And I realized, oh, she was using her creativity as an artist to solve the problem, you know? So that's how she learned best, by using her art. Okay, so we have to be able as teachers to identify those, because the society that we're in right now, they're very quick to label children. I don't label. And what I mean by labeling is that they will tell you, okay, the child has ADHD, which is attention deficit disorder, or the child has dyscalculia, sorry, which is not being able to do math properly, that has a learning disability with math, or dyslexia, not being able to read properly. So there are too many labels given to children that I think we can do without. Once the children are aware that they are given a label, I believe that they use that throughout as a prop throughout their learning, however far along they go. And to me, that's not the way it should be. I think we really do need to take the time to determine, okay, so maybe you have a different way of learning. All right.
Okay.
Let's try to find what that is and try to get them to the point where they need to be without having to put a label on them. That's my thinking as an educator. People may not agree with me, but that's just me.
So you are saying there are different learning styles.
Yes,
So,
there are
so,
several learning styles.
so there will be 28 to 33 students approximately in a class. So, uh, but only one teaching style. Do that work?
That won't work. Um, One teaching style won't work. You have to be able to teach using multiple styles to incorporate the different learning styles. So whatever subject you're teaching, whether it's math or English or whatever subject, you have to be able to reach all your students to present the material in different ways. So everybody will get a chance to learn the same material, but they're learning it in their way. So the teacher has to be very creative to find the different modes of learning and to find the material that will accommodate the different modes of learning.
Is that
Okay?
possible? Is that possible for a teacher to teach 33 students in 33 styles in limited time given to her or him?
Yes.
Is that possible?
Yeah. It is all based on organization. So
Okay.
once you're very organized in your learning in how you have to plan. Okay? So you're given a curriculum. The
Okay.
state gives you a curriculum or the province gives you a curriculum. You have to work with that curriculum. So you have to be a planner. You have to be a really good organizer to make sure your work is covered in the time frame. And you have to make sure your children have the proper learning materials so you can get your work done and they can learn what is required of them. But it's possible. The ministries of education will not give you a curriculum that is not doable in the time frame. I don't. It's all about management of time. And management of time, not only in planning, but management of time within the classroom and how you manage your children's time in the classroom. Because you have time wasters. You have children who will be time wasters, who will try to get away from doing work, who will be disruptive and who will try to cause problems, which will then take away from the time that they need to learn and for the others to learn. So the teacher has to be the manager of the classroom, managing the time, managing materials, managing the curriculum. So the teacher is manager at that point.
So you have a huge experience in this profession.
Yes. Over 30 years.
30 years you have spent your time on this profession. Uh, so I do know that I'm the right guy to ask you the questions, but still I'll try.
Go ahead, you ask me. I'll try to answer as best as I can.
Okay, in this 30 years, you might have seen a lot of students in your life in this
Mm-hmm.
profession. You have seen a lot of teachers in your life. So
Mm-hmm.
in every year you'll be seeing different management system, different managers. Every teacher is a manager. You said this. So
It should be.
different,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So you have seen a lot of management systems and different organizing styles and organized uh,
Yeah.
systems. So which worked in this 30 years? Which worked most of the time?
Which works best? I would think peer tutoring helps. So that's one area of management for in the classroom, for example. Um, and you talked about, and I'll take you back to when you said that some children um, will get better marks than others. Okay, that's where you had the teacher has to draw on the strengths of the stronger ones and pair them with the weaker ones so they pull each other up. Okay, one helps the other through peer tutoring, and that helps to grow. They grow each other. They help each other grow and get to the same level. All right, that's management. That's also being creative. Um, and that gives the children a sense of accomplishment that they're helping someone else. Um, Another method that works, for example, you talked about the curriculum and having too much work and can they complete the work within the given time, would be using group work. So you can there's some things that can call for individual work, and there's some activities or parts of the curriculum that you can do group work with. So you can take a topic, for example, say in social studies or geography or history, and you assign groups, and each group will get a different topic. So say, for example, I have 5 topics to complete within the semester, okay, or the year. I would have 5 groups, okay, and I'll give each group a topic. and create a project for them whereby they have a number of weeks to work on the project, but I'll guide them through the project, give them time to work on it in the classroom. Okay. And at the end of it, they get to present their project to the other groups. But here what? Within a few weeks, we've done 5 topics. We've completed the curriculum. Okay. So it's management, a lot of creativity, a lot of leadership. And you're teaching your children leadership as well as time management to get the work done. So a number of skills are being taught, not only the content for the curriculum. So yeah, it can be done.
So, a classroom is a collection of more and less intelligent students. So,
Uh,
yeah.
I would agree or I don't want to necessarily agree with that, where you're saying they have less intelligent children, because I believe all children have their own level of intelligence based on their style of learning, is how we categorize them.
And what
Okay,
about
so
interest? Interest on the subject?
say that again, sorry,
Interest on the subject?
and the subject. Again, that's up to the teacher, all right, in terms of identifying what works for the class. For this, you have to teach a subject. Say, for example, I have to teach history, okay? But I may have a student who doesn't like it. What would I do as a teacher? I would have to make that topic interesting in a way that that child will learn. Again, it comes down to learning style. Because I remember, and I do, the way I teach and the way I try to talk to the teachers is that it's based on my experience of learning in school, how I learned in school, and the experiences I had. And so I took that, and that directed how I taught, or, how I developed as a teacher. So for instance, growing up as a young child, even into teenagers, I hated math. I hated it. Okay. And I will tell anybody that today. I do not like math. I still do not like math. And I think because I did not have the best learning experiences growing up in math. So I had a lot of anxiety when it came to doing math exams and things like that. In Teachers College, I learned to teach math. Okay. And then I realized, oh, but I was never taught like this. Why wasn't I taught like that? So I could learn the math and really learn to appreciate it. So when I went into the field as a teacher, I taught math the way I think I should have been taught. Okay.
Okay, okay.
That you understand? So
Yeah,
I use my own experiences as a child or as a teenager in school or in high school, elementary school, and I change that, okay, to make sure that my children learn the way they should be learning, the way I think I should have been taught. Okay, so
okay.
I use that. Um, yeah, so even for history, I didn't like history either in high school. I hated it. But my teacher didn't even care that I hated it. So she did not reach out to me to make me want to like. Okay, so the teacher is very powerful in the classroom. Very impactful, very powerful. And that's what I'm trying to do through my Instagram and through everything, to get to teachers, to make them realize, listen, you are one of the most important persons in that classroom to make sure your children are successful. They are depending on you, okay, to be successful. And not only now, but they take that education and move on, okay? I've had my students reach out to me, and I'm talking my students now that I had from way back who are now, say, 25 years old or 27 years old. And they were on Facebook recently. And one of the questions on the Facebook was who was your best teacher, or who do you remember, and a couple of them, they mentioned my name. So I kind of reached out to them. I said, well, thank you right? Because in the conversation they were having amongst themselves, because I'm part of I'm friends with all of them on Facebook because I follow them, and they said that I didn't realize the impact I had on their lives, right? And I really didn't know. And they are the ones that kind of inspired me to do what I'm doing now based on that one Facebook post. I mean, I've heard it before, but having them, I was kind of silently looking at the conversation they were having before I jumped into the conversation. And to know, because it was really, for me, it was very empowering for me to realize, oh, what I did or what I did with them really impacted their lives positively, right? So maybe I can reach the other teachers and say, listen, you can be just as impactful and just as, empowering with your teaching because you have 30 kids in front of you every year. You can try to reach as many of them as possible. You can't save all of them. You cannot reach every one of them. But even if you get to one and you can empower and inspire one, then that makes your job all worthwhile. So they really inspired me that way.
Then what about the student knowledge? If you're talking about the teacher perception, tell me about
Mm-hmm.
the student perception. The parents are expecting a good result from their students, right? It is very important for a teacher to send information to all the 28 or 33, all the students' brains. So
Yeah.
it is teachers' responsibility to send the information to all the brains, and that is why the reason they are getting paid.
Well, yes, but I also believe the parents have a big part to play with this. Huge part. The teacher is part of it. So I I look at it like a triangle, all right? The home, the school, and the child, all right? The child is the one that we're working for in terms of making them succeed, learn and succeed. So the connection, of course, has to be home and school. It can't be one or the other. All right. Um, Especially if the parents are depending on the teachers. Parents have a part to play. Parents are your child's first teacher. That's a fact. Okay. Children don't get to school till they're probably 3, 4, depending on how early they start. And parents cannot depend completely on the teachers. Now, this is why when COVID came in and everybody was required to be at home and parents had to homeschool their children, they were all up in arms about, well, I don't know what to do. Okay. To me, that was an eye opener, or it should have been an eye opener for parents to realize, oh, I need to play a more important part in my child's learning and I cannot depend completely on the teacher. So I sent home, okay, so teachers are doing their job and teaching. We're going to assume they're doing their job, teaching in the classroom. Now, mind you, there are parents who may not be able to assist. I have to keep that in mind as well. But you don't have to know the material to be able to help your child. Just sit with them and say, okay, let's do homework. Or if there's homework, um, you don't have to know the material. Okay. The teacher would have taught the material. The child should now be able to do it, but you should be able to sit there with them and encourage them so that they know that you are part of their learning, not necessarily teaching them, the information at home, but being a part by just sitting there, being around, okay, at the dining table or wherever you do your studies. Um, and even now, for example, when I talk to parents, because people ask me things and about their children, what they should do with the child and what they should do here. And I sent a link to someone. It's my niece actually, because the kids are at home. She works from home now because of COVID. She hasn't gone back to the office. And her kids are young. 4 and 2. And I found a really nice activity is sorting, and they can go on a nature walk. They go for walks every day. Collect things on your walk, and when they come home, you get them to sort it and sort it into color and size and shape, and that's learning. So she's going to be part of that. You understand? So there's simple ways that parents can be involved with their child's learning. And the teacher, yes, has a huge part to play, but the teacher can also help the parent understand what they can do at home to help with the connection. Because I've seen it over and over and over the year, time and time again. When parents are actively involved in school life, and what's happening with their children, the children perform better. Okay? They may be the weakest student, but they will try, because, I'm going to please mommy or daddy if I try, because they are checking up on me. They are talking to my teacher. They know what's happening with me in school. And they try because they want to please the parent. I've seen it over and over again. So when parents understand that part of it, and they become an active, play an active role in learning and being in connection with the school, and the child sees that, then the learning is going to be far more effective rather than just the teacher alone. And the pressure is on the teacher alone. The teacher needs the help of home. Okay? Parents need the help of the school. So it's all connected. Right? I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Yeah. Can a good student can become a good teacher?
Can a good student become a good teacher? Of
Yeah.
course, yes. A good student will emulate, it's like, okay, they emulate teachers a lot, okay? They watch everything that you do. They follow you. And if you give them the opportunity to teach, like in peer tutoring, like I mentioned before, the peer tutoring is where they're able to help each other teach, they teach them a skill. So once they know what they're doing, they can help each other, and they become good teachers by even as good. So it's two ways. They become good students and they become good teachers through peer tutoring. That's one example of doing that, right? Because they're learning as well. Um, so yeah, I mean, I taught my class how to do correcting essays, because every day they had to write me an essay, and I'd have like 30 plus essays every day to mark. You can imagine how long that took. Okay. So I taught them how to do it. Okay. They knew what I looked for. Um, they knew how I graded. I gave them the marking scheme, and they would pair mark each other's work. I mean, I'll look at it, I will give it a second eye, of course, but it helped me. And they learned from that because now they're able to identify mistakes and how things should be written. And they were able to do that and learn that through peer marking. And then their writing became better. So they were able to tell each other, okay, you need to improve on this area, or you need to do that. Or so it became a skill that they learned while learning. They became good teachers. So yes.
Tell me about bad teacher.
Oh, there are bad teachers. Um, there are lots of bad teachers out there, unfortunately. I've encountered many of them, and it frustrates me as a teacher because I know that there are teachers out there that put a lot of work into what they do and a lot of effort. And then there are those that slack off. They don't go to school. They take time off all the time. I mean, they may have issues as to why they're taking time off, but to me, that has to be addressed because when a teacher stays away from school for multiple times, who is getting impacted the most? The student, right?
Yeah.
So to me, that is something that needs to be addressed in all school systems. But everywhere is different. Every school is different. In my schools back on the islands, we didn't have supply teachers. Okay. We didn't have substitute teachers like they have in North America. So it was different. So if someone stayed home a day, if I stayed home a day, my class had no teacher. All right. And it meant that the teacher next door had to watch my class and hers. So that's 60 children he's got to manage for the day. All right. So yeah, there are bad teachers out there who are not as committed as they should be. Whether they are not committed because they don't want to do the job or they're only in there because it was easy to get into. I don't know. Whether they're having a mental health issue and they can't commit to the job, then need to be able to say that. They need to be able to reach out. Okay. I had someone reach out to me on Instagram because I talked about as teachers were going back into school, a lot of them were expressing stress, right, and anxiety of going back into a COVID environment. And COVID is not done yet. We're still very much in the midst of COVID. And they're very anxious about going back out. And there are a lot of people that suffer from mental health issues that we're not aware of, right? Or they suffer from addictions that we don't know of. And one administrator reached out to me on Instagram and said, well, what do I look for? What signs do I look for that a teacher is under stress or some kind of anxiety? And some people hide it really well, so you can't tell. But then there are those. So you probably look for, yes, high absenteeism. So they might be not coming to school very often because they have anxiety or they have an addiction that we don't know about, or whatever the problem might be. And so the administrators need to look for little things. Maybe you need to be more aware when they're talking what comes out in their conversations. But some of some hide it really well. With the group that I teach with now, that I work with, because now I teach adults. One of my colleagues, he died recently, very young, very suddenly, and we didn't realize. I wasn't aware that he had an issue, that he was having a problem, right? And so again, that's where now I'm trying to focus a little bit too on the mental health and with teachers and anxiety and stress because it does impact them and it will impact what happens in the classroom. Okay. And the fact that they need to know that they have to reach out for help. Okay. Because it's not going to be good for anybody all around when there's an issue. Yeah. So yeah.
What is your success percentage as a teacher and a teacher for teachers?
Say that again. Sorry.
What is your success percentage as a teacher and what is your success percentage as a teacher for teachers?
What is my successful days as a teacher?
Success percentage.
Or success percentage as a teacher?
Yes.
That is going to be different for everyone depending on what you define success to be. Okay. Once my students can attain, what I work towards is making sure my students reach their highest potential. Okay. Or at least know how to get there. And once, as I say, you can't reach everybody, you can reach a few. If my student has attained, say, for example, they've passed something. I had one student who wanted to pass for a specific school because in the Caribbean we have to write an exam to get into high school. I'm not sure how it is in India. They probably have a similar
Yeah,
British
same.
system.
Yeah,
Yes.
same. Yeah.
Um, so she was failing math terribly, but she wanted to pass for a school of choice, a really prestige school. And I had gone to her house for something. Her mom and I went to pick up something from her mom, and her mom showed me. She had written everywhere where she wanted to pass. She was motivating herself, okay? And she worked so hard she passed. Now, that was a level of success for her. Did I have anything to do with it? Maybe I inspired her. I kind of pushed her, to realize, okay, you can do this. So let's get with it. Um, just the small measures of success. All right. I had one class, for example, where the children were, half of them were failing. It was a class I inherited from someone. And my task was to bring them up to a level where they can succeed. It took a lot of hard work on my part. It took a lot of inspiring them and empowering them to realize, okay, I'm not stupid, because they felt that they were, okay, because they were at one point continually told that they were stupid, which is not something I agree with at all. And it took months to get them to a point where they believed in themselves. And that to me was success enough to get them to believe that they were capable of doing of learning. And at the end of it, they all did fairly well. But again, they were not bright stars, but I brought them they were able to come from a level this low to at least a little bit higher. And that was success in itself. So it varies depending on what the goal is. Okay. For me, as I said, I was able to reach most of my students. I think I did really well over the years. Even with the adults that I have right now, I met one today actually. He's a past student. He came back just to say hi. And he was struggling. This guy is 40 something years old. Okay. And he can't read properly because he didn't have the basic foundation growing up, in the Caribbean. He missed a lot of schooling and he was thrown into the cracks. Okay. So his foundation is really, really low or non-existent. And he struggled to even get his driver's license. All right. So he kept failing all the time. So when I started working with him, we got it because I had to teach him because he couldn't read properly. I had to teach him visually. Okay. So I taught him learning signs or colors, whatever. And he passed that. He went and then he wrote the test and he passed it. Okay. That was one milestone for us, one successful milestone. Today I saw him after a few months and now he has gotten his second level driver's license. So again, that's to us and to him, that was amazing, you know. Um, so it depends on what the goal is for that success. With regards to other teachers, it's the same thing. It's the same, dependent on the goal. All right. Because everybody's definition of success is going to be different.
So, at last, do you want to say anything to the teachers and students who are watching this video from any part of this planet?
Sure. I want, and this is students and teachers. I want them to understand and to realize that the power is within them to attain anything they want. So teachers, for example, if you are the power in the classroom. The students are depending on you. You are the inspiration for them. Okay. Every time you step into that classroom, you become the role model. All right. You have to take charge of the class. You have to know the path for your class. You guide them. So you are the power model in the classroom. Um, the children have to be aware that they have potential. All right. And I want to reiterate, I do not believe in labeling children because I believe all children can learn regardless of ability. All right. The child who can't talk can learn to sign. Okay. The child who can't hear will do the same thing. Will learn to lip read and sign. Um, but they can learn. They can all learn, may not be at the same degree of learning, but they can all learn something. Their potentials are going to be different. All right. So they can learn either way, but the teacher has to be the one, and the parent, as I said, that connection is very real and very important. So that's one message I want to leave with teachers is to use your parents to create the relationships with their parents, to create that homeschool connection, because the ultimate goal is the success of the children. All right, their success in learning. How are you going to facilitate their learning in the best way possible? Yeah, that's my message.
So, in your view, if the world wants to be educated, the triangle should be perfect from teacher, from parent to student, student to teacher, teacher to parent.
Yeah, it's not going to be perfect, but it's a place to start, right? It is the best model for learning, for success, because I've seen it work over and over again. It's the best model, um, because children watch everything you do. Children pay attention to their parents. Not every home is ideal. We know that, but whichever parent they have available, all right, whether they have both parents or one parent or foster parent or adopted, whatever, that parent needs to be involved in the school in school, all right, just being present, just being in communication with the teacher is a big deal for the child, from a child's mind, all right, because people don't tend not to look from a child's point of view of how things are. But once you start looking at a child's, from their perspective, they want to know that they are important. So if my mother or my dad or whoever is talking to my teacher or is in communication with my teacher, it means I'm important. All right. And they will work a little bit harder to please both people, teacher and parent. So it works.
I'm sure these points are very important for the teachers who are started the profession and in
Yes.
this profession, and at the same time the parents who watches this video will definitely get some points, and we will definitely implement those points
Well,
in on their
I hope so.
skills. And also coming to teachers, they have a lot of content to learn from this video. Thank you so much for giving your valuable time and telling about a lot of things regarding
Thank
teaching.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was really, really empowering for me. And I'm glad that I can probably hopefully reach more people even through this video. All right. Thank you.
Definitely. Can I put this video on my YouTube channel with your permission?
Yes, you may.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so
All right.
much. I will come to Canada next year if possible. I'll contact
Well,
you.
hopefully COVID will be gone by then. Or at least something.
Some medicine will definitely
Not a
destroy this.
problem.
Yeah.
All righty.
Yeah.
Take
Thank you so
care.
much. Take care.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.